After a successful qualifying campaign beating top opposition like Dynamo Berlin, Dynamo Kiev and Anderlecht, Aston Villa find themselves up against a European giant in Bayern Munich. Having already scored 15 goals so far in the tournament, Bayern Munich head into this game heavy favourites at 5-4. In the 9th minute of the game, Aston Villa are forced into a change. Young Nigel Spink replaced Jimmy Rimmer for only his second senior appearance for the club. To tell the tale of our greatest achievement, welcome European winner Nigel Spink. Up the Villa. Hello and welcome to Up the Villa podcast. If you're new to our channel, subscribe, hit that like button. We'll have a like target of 500. So this is our European Cup winning episode, the 40th anniversary this year, and I'm delighted that we are joined by the Villa legend goalkeeper Nigel Spink. So we'll get straight on in there then, and we'll have good 30 minutes with Nigel today. So Nigel, what was it like in the build-up to the game, sort of like training and sort of like the vibe going into the game?
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty surreal. I mean, what the amazing thing about it all, for when you look back in hindsight, was how relaxed everybody was. I think the enormity of it, with the fact that it was Bayern Munich and with their history of the European competition, I think, you know, Villa fans, they seem to just be relaxed and gone for the good time and the day out and everything, and didn't really expect too much, I don't think. But that related, I think, to the squad. The training sessions were good. Tony Barton and Roy McLaren kept everything very, very much the same. Preparation for games was the same as Ron Saunders used to do. That didn't change a bit, and I think that's a great compliment to Tony Barton. For, you know, in these days, a new manager would have come in and changed things around and tactics and all that stuff, but Tony Barton kept it exactly the same, and it's what the lads knew. And yeah, I mean, the training sessions were great. I seem to remember the training pitch not being that great in Amsterdam, and then on the coach on the day up to the ground, and you know, when we walked out onto the pitch before the game, I think Brian Clough was in commentary, and he said how relaxed we looked before the game. We were, you know, in our suit and ties, and just to come out the tunnel and look up to the right, and just to see the hordes of Villa supporters streaming into the ground as well was just amazing.
Yeah, so I'm 32, so I rewatched the game on Sunday, and when you came onto that pitch, what was it like running towards them Villa fans? And when you first picked up that ball for the first time, the noise from the Villa fans, what was that like?
Yeah, listen, it was when we got to the ground, we got to the 5 subs. I mean, you guys won't relate to this, but in those days, the league was only 1 substitute, and that was an outfield player. So we as a squad were only together for European games. The rest of the time, the first team would train together, the reserves would train together. So then 5 of us would be picked as subs, and we'd come together with the team. Invariably, it was pretty much the same starting 11, so there'd be 5 of us subs. We got to the ground, and we looked at the atmosphere and everything, and we got together and we just said we're going to get changed as quick as we can, get out on the pitch and enjoy the atmosphere, and use the whole hour warm up to you know, have a kick around, get warmed up. And the lads were having a few shots at me in the goal before Jimmy came out for his warm up, and it was we knew we had to utilise that hour, because that we thought, oh, that's going to be the last time we get out on the pitch, because I can't remember a sub being used in the competition all the way up to that. So we thought there's no way. In those days, you didn't make tactical substitutions. The substitution was only for injuries. So unless there was an injury, we knew that none of us would get on. So we utilised that hour, and then you know, after 10 minutes, everybody's looking at Jimmy, and he's waving his arms and saying he can't carry on. And I'm looking at him, and I'm looking across the pitch and thinking, well, who's going to go in goal then? Because I just wasn't used to this scenario, not like it is today with you know, with substitutions and all the stuff that goes on. It was just really rare then. So
sorry, Nigel, did you know that he had this injury and that there was a potentially, because 10 minutes he must have known before the game that.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a lot filtered out just in that, that's come, over the years talking to the lads, and the senior lads knew about it. Your Dennis's, your Kemet Norts, Peter Withe, they knew that something was not right with Jimmy, and allegedly he picked up a knock in one of the final league games, and he'd been struggling a little bit with it. Although he didn't miss a training session, as far as I'm aware, I can't remember him missing a training session. And I'd spent 5 years with only playing one first-team game, and Jimmy always had a bandage on his knee or a bandage on his elbow or a bandage somewhere, but still played on a Saturday afternoon. I had to wait 5 years to make my debut, and it was so, I didn't really have a clue. I was a little bit oblivious, maybe a little bit naive, and just enjoying the occasion of being away, being in Amsterdam for where we were staying, and then the journey up to Rotterdam for the game. And I didn't have a clue, Justin. I think people go a little bit, oh, you must have had an incline, but it's not like it is today.
Do you think that was a deliberate ploy to keep you calmer? Because obviously, having only one game previously to that game, and it being such a huge game, do you think the senior pros thought, well, if he does have to come off, if we tell Nigel before the game this is a possibility, you could have been more worked up? So, like Luke said, you're so relaxed when you came on the pitch.
Yeah, I think absolutely. I think Tony Barton, Roy McLaren, the senior players that knew about it, I think they probably had decided, or Tony and Roy maybe had decided, that they were going to keep it under the hat. But then again, you go back and you think, well, listen, Jimmy never missed a game. He missed 2 games in 5 years, and it was not the done thing. He carried on. So I would think probably they thought he was going to get through it and get through the game on the night. But, he'd obviously decided that, and bravely decided that he couldn't carry on, and his neck stroke shoulder was too bad to risk for the team.
Mental.
Yeah,
Ryan?
it's go on, Roy.
Oh, sorry, man.
Yeah, he's enthralled by it.
Oh yeah, I'm just in awe of his story. Yeah, it's brilliant. So, how did you feel leading up to that first chance that Bayern had? Like, the build up to it, and oh my god, I'm gonna face a shot here. Like,
well, with them being Bayern Munich, a shot was always going to come at some point, and it was just how quick he is. But when I got out on the pitch, it was I just sort of said to myself, just play the way you'd played in, and God knows how many reserve games I'd played for the club. Just that's all I've got to draw on, and so I just thought, well, I'm gonna just play the way I play. I'm not going to try and change anything. I'm just going to play the way I play, and see what happens. And I think it would have been, if it had been an English league game, might have been a little bit different. But because it's European football, it's a little bit slower. You get more time. When things happen, they happen very quickly. But the build-ups to play is quite slow. And Bayern, for some reason, which I don't know why, they put a sort of an aimless ball into the penalty area, to my sort of right-hand side of the area, and it came high, and I came and collected it. So I got an early touch of the ball, and goalkeepers will tell you, they're always, until they get that first touch of the ball, they want to know whether the gloves are going to grip the ball, whether it's going to be slippery, what the condition of the ball on your gloves is going to be like. Goalkeepers just love that, we're a bit superstitious like that. And as soon as I took that first ball, and I thought, yeah, I'm happy with this, and
settled in,
settled down. And I remember rolling the ball out to Gary Williams, and in those days, the goalkeeper could field a back pass and pick it up again. So I rolled it out to Gary Williams. He rolled it out to me. Back to me, I picked it up and out to Kenny Swain on the other side, and away we went. That's. But the first, I think it was Dernberger that cut inside was my first real save. He cut in from my right hand side and smashed the ball very similar. I had a very similar save in the second half, which I think was a better save from my point of view. But I managed to hold it again. It was real down to my right, really low. Again, you know, an awkward position because it is low, but I got down really quickly and got hold of it. And again, that's another confidence booster for me. So that led into, you know, what was probably I think for me, the way it feels, they had their better chances in the first half. And Karl-Heinz was through again. He fired one straight at me, but I stood up big and parried the ball to the left, and it was a pretty hectic 5 or 10 minutes. With that, I took a cross, and I remember taking a cross above Ken McNaught's head in the first half as well. And all these things, these saves, I think because I made those saves early, it cleared any doubt in my mind that I felt like, well, maybe I deserve, maybe you know, my ability's got a right to be here. And I felt the confidence grow, and until a certain guy did an overhead kick.
Yeah. Did you think that was in? Because you stood still, didn't you? When you watch it back, you basically couldn't do anything about it. The ball, they'd crossed the ball they got to the byline in my left-hand corner, and they crossed it back. And I sort of came back across my goal and relaxed, not seconds, but relaxed a little bit because I thought that's drifting away. And then it was going behind Karl-Heinz, and he actually took a very unnatural overhead kick. His position was unbelievable. You know, he's back to goal, and the ball whisked past my post where I'd just come from, and it literally shaved the post. And Gordon Cowans followed the shot in. He followed the shot in, and he was the one that fielded the ball because obviously it was goal kick, and he was on that picked the ball up. And we both looked at each other and smiled. And I actually said to him then, I said, for the first time tonight, I'm not sure I should be here because it was that good. It was that good. What you know, what just happened. It was just amazing, and that showed the ability of what they got. I mean, he was a renowned German international, wasn't he? A world class player, and they can do things like that. But thankfully, he didn't do it again.
like Luke said, I watched the game as well just to get a feel of it. And I think your first half performance, especially that first shot that you mentioned, your handling was like superb. And I guess going into half time 0-0, the whole team felt comfortable. You know, you had their back. You were our keeper. You're spot on. And I guess that confidence you were portraying in goal resonated to the rest of the team as well.
Yeah, I think it probably did. I mean, the guys were pretty good. I mean, they said, you know, that after the game they said that they always had confidence in my ability, and you know, it was halftime. The dressing room was upbeat, as you can imagine, but it was like, let's keep this going. We don't need to change anything. We don't need to do this, do that. Let's just keep the same things going. They said well done to me, but they didn't make a fuss of me either. They didn't make a fuss of me. So, you know, if they'd have made a fuss of me, that might have changed the dynamic, because all of a sudden I might have thought, well, yeah, here we go, and you know, I might have been all right. But you know, they just kept everything normal. They treated it just as though Jimmy was in goal, really, and they. And then, you know, we sat there for the half time, and away we went again. And it was just, oh gosh, it does, like, you know, you guys who just watched it on DVD. I watch it occasionally on DVD, and it's 40 years, but it feels like yesterday. It feels like yesterday that it happened, and the memories of incidents that happened in the game are still fairly vivid.
Go on, Luke, sorry.
So what happened at full time then? Talk us through what happened.
Hey, listen, you know, we were trying to waste time at the end, and they kept on coming at us. But as I said, in the second half, they didn't really have pressure on me as much. We had Kenny Swain cleared the ball off the line when they did get past me, and they had an offside goal as well. But you know, it wasn't quite as hectic, apart from, you know, that incident where Withe shin scored. and you know, it was.
Did you have a good view of that, Nige?
Yeah, because I was looking right down the pitch, obviously, and I saw Shuri tuck the ball, reverse the ball back inside to Morley, and Tony just he had the fullback he had him hook, line, and sinker.
Yeah,
yeah, he wasn't. He didn't know which way to turn, and I think because Argentala thought that Tony was going to not cross it and maybe bring it in another touch, he drifted past the near post to go towards Tony, which obviously left Peter in the middle of the goal free, and Tony whipped it across, and Argentala was way out of place, and Withe just managed to get, if he'd have got a full right foot contact on it, I think Muller might have saved it, because he was coming back across the goal. He might have got a block on it, but luckily enough, Withe he had enough skill about him to let it hit his shin and going off.
That's
the post.
it. Yeah, he meant it all the way, didn't he?
Yeah,
Shooting history of Villa.
That's a skill in its own right. That
it is. Yeah.
The noise was electric on. Yeah, it sounded electric on the telly. So, what was it like in the actual ground when that ball hit the net?
Oh yeah, it was just you just couldn't catch your breath, you know, to see, because you know, obviously I've got this view down the pitch. There was a pocket of supporters. I was at the other end. In the main stand there was a pocket of Villa supporters, because the Germans were now behind me, but they weren't. It was fairly sparse. You know, there wasn't a full stadium by any means, and apart from
can't believe that, can you?
Yeah, well, you can't really, but and. I was shaking my fist at the Villa supporters up in the stand, and we just scored. And looking down the pitch, you saw all the lads together, congregating together, and just the sea behind them was a magnificent picture. And there's been photographs taken of it. A magnificent picture of the supporters just didn't know what to do with themselves. You know, it was just.
Did you fancy running up the pitch and joining in with them when they scored?
If I was still playing, I think that would have been the thing to do. But in those days, it wasn't the thing to do. Goalkeepers stayed in the penalty area. You know, they didn't come up the pitch like they do these days. So I just stayed there, and I was never a great runner anyway, so it would have been struggling to get back.
just touching on that final whistle. Even watching it back, that was the first time I'd watched the whole 90, and I could feel the tense, and it was getting up to the 90th minute, and then it was like the commentator was going, "We've played 35 seconds or 40 seconds over the 90. What's going on? Why are you blowing up?" And you think nowadays you get 5, 6, 7 minutes, and it was 40 seconds. It must have felt like a lifetime until that whistle come.
Yeah, it was, but you know, testament to the lads. They could have been. They kept so professional, that squad. I mean, full credit to the late great Ron Saunders for putting that team together. Really, you know, it was that. If you look at the team, and you guys, you younger guys looking at that team, the thing you notice, and the thing we all crave for in a team is a balance. You know, attacking ability, defending ability. We had 2 fullbacks that could get forward in that team, Gary Williams and Kenny Swain. We had Evo and Ken McNaught were absolutely solid centre halves. You know, Dennis and Sid complemented each other in the middle, and then you've got Des, who he really tucked in and kept everything tight on the right hand side. And then obviously you've got the flamboyance of Tony on the left, you know, who could do exactly what he did for the build up for the goal. And then the front two were just a perfect combination again, you know, Withe and Shaw. They're arguably the best combination of strikers that we've ever seen at the club.
What kind of impact did the manager leaving have on the team, Nige? And do you think it contributed to sort of galvanise you to go on and win it in a way?
Yeah, I mean, it could have done, Justin. I think that it was such a shock. None of us saw it coming. I mean, Dennis, the likes of Dennis, Ken, Jimmy, and Withe probably had the ear of the manager. They might have known that there was trouble with it. I still don't know why it happened. I know it was political, and Ron wasn't getting what he wanted. He was a very strong man, and he literally wanted to run the club. and he had done and so brilliantly to produce that team. So yeah, it was a massive shock when it happened, and but it was quelled quite quickly because the Bendel family who ran the club then decided that Tony was going to take on the team, and nothing was going to change, and it was
great move.
Yeah, it was a great move because and just from that point, putting Tony in charge, Tony had the balls to stick with what, and I mean Tony wasn't an assistant manager that was every game. Tony was also chief scout, so every Saturday he was somewhere else watching players. Tony was the scout that watched me play, so he was out making decisions on players and recommending players to Ron Saunders, and Ron had the confidence in Tony to go and do that, and that's how that worked. So Tony wasn't really, we only ever saw Tony a couple of times in the week, and he'd be bringing stuff up from the ground to the training ground at Bodymore, and he could have meetings with Ron obviously, but we didn't really know Tony. We knew Tony, but we didn't really know him that well. Roy McLaren was the right hand man for Ron Saunders, and then Ron Bendel and the Bendel family asked Tony to take it on, and they must have sat down, him and Roy, and had conversations about the way ahead. The senior players were probably involved in that as well, and why change something if it's not broken? Look where we were, look what we were doing. There's no reason. There's no reason to change it. But again, I'll go back to Tony. It takes a very strong man to just do that and let that tick over. But what a hero he became.
Yeah. So the game's finished now, and celebrations are afoot. What was it like in the dressing room after? I mean, I watched a video today in the dressing room. I think it was Peter Withe had to do a sample for the drug testing, and I think he wasn't too happy about that. But you all look so calm. I mean, it was like, I just can't get my head around how calm and relaxed you were. It was almost like I know you don't expect to win these games. Well, you hope to win them, but everyone was just chilled out, drinking, and we've won the European Cup, But it's just unbelievable looking back at the achievement.
I mean, it was crazy. It was mental, the celebration afterwards. But I think as well, and Argenthaler and Withe, yeah, you're right. They had to go and do urine samples, which when you've just played a match in, what was it, 25 to 30 degree heat, which it was in Rotterdam that night. They're dehydrated. It took them ages. They eventually persuaded the medical people that were monitoring them to get them a crate of beer, because they needed something. They couldn't go. They couldn't produce a sample. So they weren't there. Peter wasn't in the dressing room. I think Ken Minort was there as well. I think Ken was in there as well. So they were missing. So after the game, we were as happy as we were waiting for them to come back, and obviously with his scoring the goal as well. We wanted to celebrate with him, but it was crazy in the dressing room. It was amazing.
Did you go out into town after?
Well, we were stopping in Amsterdam, which is about 30 miles away, so 30-ish. So we were back on the coach then, and the cup would, we were on a full-size coach, a squad of 16 players and the staff and whatever. So it was a big coach, and we passed the cup around, so you could have the cup for 10 minutes sitting beside you on the seat. It was amazing. And it was unreal, and it was pretty surreal then, because I just got a picture here, lads. I showed Justin earlier. I don't know if you can see that, can you, with the light?
That's quality.
You got that. That's
what a memory that is.
Yeah, that's just an amazing. I've got Muller's shirt on around my neck there. I actually swapped shirts with him after the game. So, but yeah, no, we were back on the coach back to Amsterdam for a banquet, and the banquet was going to go ahead whether we won or lost, because just the achievement of getting to Europe.
Yeah, of course, yeah, massive.
But to actually win it was amazing, and I drank so much that night. But do you know what? Could I get drunk? Not a chance. I went to bed after having a skinful, and I just felt like normal. It was crazy. And we got up in the morning. Adrenaline, yeah, it's got to have been a shock, maybe a little bit of shock.
Yeah.
But you know, we were just we got up in the morning. The celebrations really started the next morning because the wives and partners flew home early that morning, and our flight wasn't till later in the afternoon because of the reception coming back and stuff. And we were able to get together then. Just, you know, I wouldn't say football was forgotten, but you know, the actual having to think about football was forgotten, and we were really able to celebrate. Then we all sat in the bar and had a few beers in the hotel, and it was just
16 lads in Amsterdam with no wives and kids.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, loved it.
Well, yeah. Well, that actually all happened before the game, but that's another story.
That's the next pod. That's the next pod. So then you fly back to Birmingham, and obviously the Civic reception. I mean, I've seen the video footage of that, and one thing that stands out in my mind is that the camera pans to the top of one of the buildings, and there's people standing on top of a building, and that would never be allowed to happen today. There's like 20 or 30 people on this 200-foot building. So, you know, I'd have given anything to have been there. Honestly, it just looked unreal, and hopefully one day we'll see it again. But what was it like for the players?
At the Civic reception, sorry, yeah.
And then flying back into Birmingham Airport, through the airport, all that.
Yeah, it was just I remember us having a photograph taken because we flew into East Midlands for some reason. That sounds like typical Villa organisation, but we flew into East Midlands, and I remember us having a photograph taken on the steps of the plane. The cup, Dennis had the cup, and yeah, that was amazing. And then the coach journey back, and then the Civic reception. The town hall, the square in front of town hall was it was great. It was great being on the open top bus from Villa Park to the town hall. Mass sea of supporters, but the majority of them wanted to be in town hall square, and you know, they were there, and it was just absolutely amazing. And the only thing I can remember, because I didn't actually speak until right near the end, and all the lads spoke on the microphone, just said a few words. And when I came to the microphone, I think I just followed Jimmy, and the fans were still, quite rightly, were still singing "There's only one Jimmy Rimmer," and that prompted me to. The only words I said on the microphone was, "Thank God there's only one Jimmy Rimmer, because this has been the only chance I've had to play in the team." So, you know, that was all I said, and that got a cheer from the supporters as well. So that was fantastic. And then after the game, just remind me, just before we go, I've got a story about my shirt as well. I'll tell you about that in a second. But the amazing thing for us was we were able to take the European Cup, the actual cup, not like these days. It wasn't a replica; it was the actual cup in the box that it came in, a big case it came in. We could book it out and take it out. We could take it home. So all we needed to do was to sign a book that was at Villa Park. I took it to the village I was born in, outside Chelmsford in Essex. It was on my mum and dad's front lawn on a table. The whole village wandered past and had a look at the European Cup.
Crazy.
You know, it was bizarre. It was bizarre that we could do that. Yeah, it was absolutely crazy. I mean, that's something else that's not going to happen today. But just I'll go back to my shirt there, because I swapped with Muller on the night, and I was speaking to Peter Withe's son about 3 years ago, and I'd always got Muller's shirt at home, and I said to Stephen Withe said to me, he said, we've contacted Bayern about my dad's jersey, about getting it back. He's got Argentala's jersey and wants to know if they want to swap back, and they're in agreement. So we're couriering the shirt out, and they're going to do the same, send it back. You know, did you swap yours? And I said, yeah, I did. So he gave me an email address to contact. Well, 2 years ago, we went on holiday to Austria. We were walking in the Alps with me and my wife, and I looked on Google at the route of because we drive down there. So I looked at Google on the route, and it went right past the Allianz Stadium, which is Bayern's stadium. So I said to the lady at Bayern, I said, "This is what's happening. On the way back, we could drop in and bring the jersey." Well, you wouldn't believe how they treated us, Bayern Munich. The people treated us for the day. Me and my wife, they had lunch in their museum. Their history is just vast, and it's the way they portray their history as well. Anybody that's played one game for Bayern Munich has got their pen picture in the museum. Sadly, we haven't got there yet at Villa with anything like that, and with the history of what the club's achieved, FA Cups, League Cups, and all that stuff. But hey ho, that's another story. But so we sat down after lunch, and this big presentation box was presented at the table, and the lady that was looking after us, she took the top off. It was all tissue paper. They've got these photographs that their photographer had taken. So we've only seen photographs generally that our photographers had taken, the UK press. These were German press photographs, so there were slightly different angles, and there were some photographs there, and it just made my skin's crawling now talking about it. But and then underneath was my jersey there like this, and the next thing, I've got this kick in my leg, and I thought, what was that? And it was Ange, my wife, and I straight away remember why she kicked me. Muller's shirt was in a tatty old Sainsbury's bag. I was like this. I just had to hold my hand up and apologise straight away.
There you go.
I did use the excuse.
Bag for life.
Oh,
that's amazing. What an amazing.
Yeah. So
I know Luke's got to wrap this up now, but just from me, do you feel that the achievement feels bigger now for the club than I know it's a big achievement. Do you know what I mean? But it feels now it's an even bigger achievement what we achieved then than it did then. It's just such a huge thing that we've done, especially because we've never done anything like it since. Do you feel like that?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I really do. And I was a little bit disappointed that the club, don't embrace or haven't embraced it over the years. That they are embracing the 40 years with a dinner and the last home game of the season against Palace. There's something going on there. I think we might be going out on the pitch before the game or after or whatever. I don't know. But hey, listen, it was an unbelievable achievement. We've recently done some interviews for BT Sport. BT Sport have plucked our achievement out of all the achievements of Liverpool, Forest that were around that time, because obviously we were surrounded by Forest twice and Liverpool even twice, twice as well. So, and everybody looks at their achievements, how, a great team and everything. And BT decided that we were a little bit lost in that group. So they're doing a documentary on it, which I believe is going out just before this year's European Cup final on BT Sport. Brilliant. So that's what we've been told. So hopefully, that will bring it again back into the front line. And Villa supporters, you just go to Villa Park, and Villa supporters are all over that achievement, and we as players love that. We love how the players embrace it. I mean, Justin, you look at you've got the replica shirt on at the night. I mean, that's an iconic shirt, and it's an iconic shirt without a doubt. Yeah. There it is.
He's got more than that. He's got a whole room.
We haven't got enough time for it. But I know, from a fan and from everybody, I love you lot. Your team is my ultimate team, and I know the fans love you all. I love you all anyway.
Brilliant.
Cool.
Huge
So, thank you for coming on, Nigel. It's been an absolute pleasure. We all think you're absolute legends, and it's like you're saying, it's nice that the club are now starting to do something. I was at the last home game when they've now put a big plaque on the whole 10 with a load of pictures. So hopefully there's a lot more of that sort of stuff to come as well. So thank you for coming on, and it's been a pleasure. Up the Villa.
Great to talk to you, lads.